Hello and welcome into the Sorare Data Show. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare. Joined today, like I was yesterday, and I will on Thursday, Harry Trades, today to talk about U23, an area that Harry used to dedicate all of his time to, and then he bought a 38-year-old Japanese goalkeeper, and the whole world changed. But I think, Harry, are you back in U23 now?
I'm fully back.
Fully back. Let's go.
I couldn't be more back-led. I genuinely couldn't. Wow. Yeah.
A look at your transactions may really show how back you are in U23. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Everybody is quite excited. Alex first in. Scosmo already throwing out the foremost Mendy talk, which I think is a little bit between you two. Maddie Sorare finally a podium again after missing it with my rivals league because of the Olmo goal line clearance. I will say, if you're going to lose something, that's a hell of a play to lose it on. Not that that makes you feel any better. Maddie said, we first time playing U23 Rare next season. I'm so excited. I think we know people love U23. And right. I think there was a thought that maybe Sorare was going to get rid of it. And enough people are like, no, we love it. And so don't you dare. Toby's here, said this should be a great one. Looking forward to it. Bob Franklin, what's up? Gavin, not Sam Ty, said back ready for the new season after being on holidays for the last month. These month-long holidays, man. You guys are just living it up. Monkey, what's up? ZM Star, that's right. Pour one out for the homie Trippin' B. I was actually talking to Trippin' B 30 seconds ago. I love that guy. He's still here. Don't worry. Sort of. Anion said, and when I thought I will for sure have enough of a balance to get new in-season cards, they add essence and cards to buys, which probably boost prices again. Anyway, time to hear what U23 to get. That's right. We don't need in-season cards to play U23. In fact, we don't even want them. We want to win them. Bazzer, need to try this and find out a good U23 strategy. Broen said, hey, I'm early and is like the 38th person in the chat. So appreciate everybody jumping in. What do you got here, Monkey? I'm pretty sure half the U23 studs for the 24-25 season aren't known yet. There's always loads and loads that pop up. And even at the clubs like PSV, there are a lot of unknowns right now. We'll get into that. Harry Trades is here. How about that in the chat? It's like some sort of some meta here. Jack P, what's up? If anybody hasn't checked it out yet, Jack P, phenomenal video on his channel on YouTube. Go check that out. Go subscribe, and you'll know which one I'm talking about. Adam's throwing out Barcola. All right. Ryan Walter listening in while driving back from vacation. I mean, does anybody work around here? Casper actually able to join live from. I cannot believe how many people are here. Charlie says, pump my players, please. If there is anything that we do in a U23 show, it is pump our players. Although Harry and I are going to disagree on one. Maybe we won't even say it, Harry. I almost feel bad having you on and then pumping this player as you're trying to get it. Johanna Tim, what's up? Apocalypto. Would you read that as Apocalypto X2000?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Sweet. Raul Surface. Ooh, what do we got here? Maddie said, a guy we have to look at is Ivan Illich, who transfers to Zenit and likes to take sets. I mean, who doesn't like to take sets?
I know.
Doesn't mean Lucas, what's up? Casper, no mention of Nozawa yet. The disrespect. We mentioned Nozawa yesterday. And I'm never mentioning him again because I used to own his card. And I did exactly what you're supposed to do with U23 cards, that I bought Nozawa when he was a backup. I sold him when he was a starter. And I'm like, I made money. And then he just went on, just ripped all these 70s and 80s. And I'm like, oh, man. Mikey Baston, what's up? Johannaton, this is your boy, Harry.
Yeah, big Oscar.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh! Speaking of Harry, guys, Kleinhansel, wow. Best left back in footy. How about that?
My best ever.
Toby, I have no idea who this guy is. You know him? Hajim?
No, Hajim. I genuinely don't.
Red or Dead 69. Mike Basson said, I thought Gator Guy was the new U23 guru. Yeah, right. Oh my word.
Oh, I know who it is. Sorry. Yeah, I do.
Sam Ty in the house. Wow. We got a little tie battle going on here. Gavin versus Sam. Do you think there's any chance Gavin is taller than Sam?
I mean, probably not.
He'd have to be really tall.
He could be, yeah. He'd be way over the average, put it that way.
There you go. And Harry and I are nowhere near over the average. So
no.
Alex said, so this is what we do with no football. Of course. Agent Cooper, there's only one answer for the best U23 stack for next season. Ramaj Hato or Hato? I never know. Espino Brothers and MDC is the extra. Is that a stack? That's just 5 guys, though, right? Like, I guess the goalkeeper defender.
Yeah.
23 be playable in September. I thought it was stopping. Oh, not only is it playable, and Toby's right, multi-entry, but only classic. Only classic. Tato's what up? Ian, the best U23 forward doesn't even have a card, but will tomorrow. Harry and I are in agreement who the best U23 forward is, and he very much has a card.
Has cards.
Raskamasaki Sorare is a full-time job. I can attest to that. Sorare Boro, what's up? Just Mike it's a U23 guy now.
Yeah.
Let's see. Man, we got to look at this. Vice 91 sitting at the dentist. Perfect time for stream. Thankfully, I'm not the one being operated on. Are you the dentist? Are you operating? I feel like this, some doctors like listen to music. I feel like listening to this show while operating, probably not the best idea. Anyway, Ben Cook, what's up? Oh, here it is. Jan said he has no cards yet, but Anand Kalali from USG will smash this season. Remember this? I will remember it. Florenzi checking in from Twitch. Love to see it. And Ben Cook's got a bunch of names here, including your boy, Tony Fruch.
They're all my boys, by the way.
Your boys?
Yeah. The Riker boys.
Riker boys, that's right. Anyway, thank you to everyone coming in. The talk, oh man. Whatever happened to Aliou Federa? With Federa?
Yeah, Federa. Yeah. He's still a game.
Yeah, as soon as we said Riker, Skosmo was going to come in on that.
Yeah, Skosmo knows his stuff about the Riker boys.
Yeah. Sorare Scout, no, U23 is not stopping. Not only that, it's tripling. Multi-entry, divisions, we got it all except for in-season. Right. So Harry and I are going to take the easy way out on this entire conversation because U23 is all about finding the guys who are not quite there yet, and then they start and they smash. And as SR Monkey said earlier, like there's so many guys that will become really good U23 players that like we just don't know yet, or maybe they don't have cards. But there are some that we do know, and we know who the best ones are, and that's who we're going to talk about today. And then everybody else can throw in the whole like, if you like Jude, how about you get this guy who's so much cheaper? And Harry, the weird thing that I kind of came across when I was kind of figuring out who or thinking who I consider the best U23 players are, is it feels like they're in champion. And all the talk about U23 is it's global. You can play people from anywhere. And so we should use our Challenger and Contender U23 players to win the champion guys. But are we going to win anything if we don't have the champion guys?
Yeah, that is definitely a good point. I mean, it's a good thing that the best under 23 cards are champion in that, like you said, that whole contender challenger, like on paper, that should kind of work, right? You play challenger and contender cards under 23 to win champ. The only thing going for that, well, another thing that's going for that strategy is if the best under 23 cards are champion, you'd like to think or hope as an under 23 player that a lot of those champion cards will be playing in champion. Because not only can you play them in champion, you can play them in the Bundesliga, Premier League, and La Liga comps if they're obviously from there. And as we will get into, a lot of the under 23 best players are from La Liga, Bundesliga, maybe Prem as well. You know, there's definitely the odd one in there. So you've got to hope that they're being played elsewhere, but you're winning them in the under 23 comp, if that makes any sense. And I don't know if that will actually come into fruition. Like, I'm sure there will be some big under 23 champ cards in under 23. It's going to happen. But like, yeah, that's the hope, right? You use the cheaper challenger and contender cards to win the big boys, which is not possible anywhere else on this platform right now or going into August, apart from potentially special weeklies. We don't know how that looks. But that's probably on paper how it should work. I'm sure there'll be a curveball in there somewhere.
Well, I mean, obviously you can win champion players in U23. That doesn't mean you will.
Right.
And so there's that. Like Skosmo here, I wouldn't waste Kudus in U23 when I can run it in Champ and Prem. And I think we're going to see a lot of that. But there are kind of some interesting ones. It's like, are they good enough for champion, or are they just good enough for U23? Theoretically, U23 could be still really high scoring because it's players from everywhere. They just happen to be younger. And Johannatan, we did kind of reference Lamine Yamal.
Kind of.
But we'll get there. Anyway, so Johannatan said in U23, challengers and contenders cards can 100% beat champ.
Well, of course it can. Anything could be anything, but...
Right. Anyone can beat anyone. We're going to, or I have created a watch list here that we're going to update throughout the show. I'll drop it in the chat, in the live chat here, and it'll be in the description of the video. That's a public one. It's empty right now because we haven't spoken about anything yet. Harry, I was going to start with goalkeepers because it's the most boring, but we got to get through it. And I admit that, as I said, I think all of the best ones are in champ. I think the best goalie is in challenger, and he may be a new addition to your club.
Yeah, it was good timing that, actually, right? I didn't even, like, that wasn't even planned in that sense that, you know, that trade went through yesterday and we were doing this today. But yeah, I made a goalkeeper video, like you referenced, I think yesterday, actually, on the preview show. And yeah, I mean, even in that video before I owned him, like it's kind of obvious that you'd like to think he is going to be, and him being Trubin, the best keeper. And that's not the best bang for buck because he is obviously on the more expensive end. Like, we're not saying he's the best pound for pound, best under 23 keeper. But if money's not an object, I think he has to be at the top of most lists, I would say. If we're just going off what we know right now about where everyone else is, like if Mamadash really moves to City and he's number one, not saying that happens, but if like weird things like that happen, fine, right? There's definitely things that can push Trubin off that. But I'm not seeing an argument right now for anyone better personally. There's definitely people that could come into the question, but he is definitely he's in a league of his own because he's not in champion in a weird way. Because like there's not many good under 23 keepers that play on champion sides who are the best team in their league, if that makes sense. So that is a thing for him, right?
So that's exactly where I go with Trubin. And there are people in chat who are kind of like, somebody had mentioned Mamardashvili, who I think probably is in the top 5.
Probably, yeah.
We're doing this on July 16th. And obviously there's a lot of movement that can happen. We have seen some movement already. What I don't want to do is make a list of guys like we think could be the best. Like if he gets this move or if this team gets bet or whatever it is, the selling point for Trubin is that he is the starter. Unquestionably, he is U23. And his team is one of the best in his league. In a league that the top 3 teams dominate the rest. Right. And so, again, it depends where other people go. But from a team perspective, it's really hard to find a better one than Trubin.
Like the lads are saying in chat, I'm going to agree with them. Like I think Bart's up there, Chevalier is definitely up there as well. But again, is playing for Lille as good as playing for Benfica in the Portuguese league? It's almost there, but it's not quite there. We're not talking about like how good they are IRL. Like this is a different.
Yes.
Like Mamardashvili is probably the best if we're just going off right now. Probably, if we're being honest. But that doesn't mean his Valencia scores are going to compare to Trubin's Benfica scores, right? That's something we need to just like set in stone for now, I think. Ben mentioned Cavlina, who, again, I've picked one up myself. I'm not saying he won't be one of the better ones because I'd hope he would be. But he's going to a team that we've not seen him play for. He's playing for Ozchek. He played for Lokomotiva Zagreb last year. There's just unknowns. Like if he was playing for Zagreb, which is the team that owns him, he's gone on loan to Ozchek, then you could be like, okay, that could be insane, but we still don't know because he's not done it. It's what it's tough, and I am a big advocate after playing this game for so long. I've realized that what happened last year doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen the next year. If we're talking scores and players, that's one massive thing. That I know we go off historical data and that's all we can go off. We can only go off the past. But when it comes to like situations not changing and Trubin right now hasn't, it's hard to look elsewhere for me. That's just the simplistic nature of that conversation. Now there is definitely other ones that we can mention. I think you mentioned him in the chat earlier. Ramaj could be amazing for Ajax. That could be really fun. I think he has to be in the conversation for sure. I know we're still on challenges. We'll get to other ones, but he's definitely in there. 22, so he's got a couple of years left, similar to Trubin. And that's why these guys' prices are crazy, because they have another year again.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. Like Cavallini the same. He has 2 years. I mean, yeah, this is the one where could be insane. It's just where in the world does he go? You know, that's the issue with Mamardashvili. We know he's going to carry good scores anywhere, but if he's on a more dominant team in a good league, which on paper that should be where like his next move is. Like he's in an okay team in a good league. The move up for him is to play on like a top 3, top 5 team somewhere. But where is that going to be? That's the issue for me with him.
Did you say Man City was sprinkled in there?
I'll be honest. That's just something I just made up because it looks like Edison's staying now, and you know that's a whole saga in itself. But if he was to go to a Man City, I'm not saying Man City scores are insane actually, because we looked in with yesterday in the Discord, and like Edison's scores aren't even that good. So it's a weird one. Like being on the best team doesn't necessarily mean you're going to score the best, because you might not save that many shots. You might not even take that many shots on. So, you know, there's so many unknowns here. But, you know, I think that's probably a good four to start with. Bart and Chevalier definitely have to be in the conversation as well.
I was going to say, like, I'm willing to like add too many names now, and we'll take some off if we want.
Yeah, we're gonna have to add 10. Should we just do 10 of each?
We probably should.
Position. I think that could be quite fun.
The one that Skosmo brought up earlier, and this has, I think, less to do with Jorgensen than it is De Zerbi, but like after what we saw at Brighton last year, with like everybody's more comfortable with Bart Verbruggen now, because it's like, okay, the bullshit is gone, and now it's going to Marseille. So like, even if you had a Jorgensen, how confident can you be that he like definitely starts every game?
You just have to hope that De Zerbi is kind of moved on from that, you know, using 2 number ones basically theory. That did it really work last year? I mean, maybe he was forced to do it because Bart was like a new goalie to the league. You just don't know. But if we're going off what happened last year, that could be quite sticky for Jorgensen if he's in a similar De Zerbi situation. If he's not, great. Like Marseille are a good team. You'd like to think he'd score, you know, relatively well in that sort of league. Definitely within the conversation for sure. There's so many like unknowns in like the Bundesliga 2s, and like there's so many goalies that go on loan. I know you've got one or did have one.
I have one, yeah.
I mean, 8 out of 18 is just nuts. Like
it's crazy.
I know, like Urbig will be one. I think you've got Max Vabe. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's another one that's gone to.
Nahuel Noel is the one I have.
Nahuel Noel's the third. I don't know 8. So that I know Ernest, who plays for Hertha Berlin. He's another one. But
it's also like a high scoring league, though, is the problem. Right. Like I'm guessing the AA scores could be really good.
Exactly that. Like Urbig for a little period when he was on loan last season was insane. Jonas Urbig. And now Nahuel Noel is actually replacing him at the same club, Firth. So, or however you pronounce it. So he could be, you know, he could have a nice little purple patch. They'll all go through purple patches. Like that just happens. Leysen went through a nice little purple patch last season for Leuven, saving them from relegation in some ways. They'll all have their day. That's the thing that's the beauty of under 23s. I just want to mention, for me, the reason why I got into under 23s to start was because I noticed there wasn't any stacking involved in the game. It didn't matter what 5 you use realistically, as long as you could find 5 cards that could score 70, 80 plus, or whatever it was on that given game week, you had a chance. Whereas back then, we're talking like nearly 4 years ago now, it was like if you didn't have Ajax, you weren't playing challengers. If you didn't have Bayern, you weren't playing champs, or you weren't competing in champs. That was how the game was. And that's why I went in there. Now, I think it's still true in that, like, you still don't need to stack for under 23s. There might be the odd goalkeeper defensive stack if you really want to. You could do that with Trubin and Antonio Silva potentially. The people do that. But that's the big. I saw a message earlier or a chat, in the chat saying like trying to like get my strategy going. But you know, just as far as like why I played under 23s, it was because you didn't have to stack. You didn't need like teams worth of players realistically. It was just who was the best young individual on that game week for that position. So that's kind of why I went into it. But I've got my goalkeeper watch list up here, and Van der Voort could be fun.
I was gonna say that's a tricky one.
Like we don't know. Galashi's captain, and there's no way he doesn't play games for them. I just don't know whether that's going to be in the Cup, whether that's going to be are they in Europa League or I imagine they're in Champions League, but I don't really know. It's a weird one. That one's a weird one because I can't imagine he'd be happy with just not playing a game of football after playing first team football for literally 6 years, however long he's been playing at Genk. Like that wouldn't sit right with him, I don't think. And I just can't see that being part of the agreement there. So it would shock me if he didn't play games of football. I just don't know in what competition for how, like, is there going to be a Barton Steele situation at Leipzig? Who knows? That one's tricky.
Yeah, really tricky. Toby was saying we're being so champ biased, even though 3 of our 7 are in Challenger. He's all on Cambadio, who's at Paris FC, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And Campos is now at Cartagena.
Yeah, just moved yesterday.
Just moved, right?
Yeah.
The whole like just moved is what always worries me. Kennedy shouted out Kakubo, who's now at STVV and is a Japan Olympic utility, which means someone else is starting in a few weeks.
Right.
Kositani?
Yeah, but I mean, we're not talking about Japanese goalies here, as in J-League. We're talking about European.
J-League,
yeah.
There's been a bunch of shouts for Noah Atabolu, and Skosmo is ready to just extinguish that fire.
Yeah, if you look at his scores, he got a big mistake in him a lot of the time. There's lots of error-led to goals and stuff. I'm not saying they can't be distinguished and whatever, but he does have a big low in him, shall we say?
Yeah.
But he does have peaks, so it's like, it's all action there. There's loads of goalkeepers.
Yeah, there are a lot of them. Agent Cooper said for a pure amount of games and also low-scoring league, you need to have La Liga 2 goalkeepers in this list. Campos for him. The tricky thing about that is you then need the outfield players to match them. Like extra utility from a goalkeeper doesn't do anything if you don't have the outfield players. So just at least something to think about when you're building these teams.
That Oduro kid has been named number 1 at AZ. That could be really fun. Like he's super young as well. Now, we are in the territory now of they could be this, they could be that. That's just the nature of where we are on the list. Like that just how it is. After the top 8, it does get a bit, well, he could be this, he could be that. And that's just part of this game, right? That's why we all speculate.
Do you think, like, how long of a leash does he get? Like if they AZ are too big of a club in the Eredivisie that if they're struggling with a 20-year-old goalkeeper, it seems like they would run out and get somebody else.
Well, they did buy someone, didn't they? I remember I mentioned to you. I don't know if he's ever been a star before. I think he's like 33. I recognize the name, but I just can't remember if he's always been a 2 or whatever. But look, they're obviously going to try and sell this kid on. Like he's obviously a prospect, so it's down to him how well he plays. It also is down to how good the defense is. Most goalkeepers, they're only as good as the defense in front of them at the end of the day. There's only so many shots you can save from point blank range. It's just impossible. Like, you need a good defense in front of you. I'm not saying AZ won't have that, but that is something that we need to think about. But yeah.
Youngdahl, had that nice run. Is he starting? Because it doesn't look like it now. I don't know.
He lost the spot, and then he lost the spot actually to another under-23 guy. There's like Jasper Schrendelar that could be really. I mean, he doesn't play on a great team. He plays for Peckerswall in the Eredivisie, but like his scores last year were really good. Like there was like 30 AAs in there, 35 AAs. He's somebody that, Zoet, that was it. Sorry. Yeah. Look, there's loads. James Trafford, I've seen today.
I was going to say
at Burnley. Yeah. he wants to be on the bench for a Premier League club. So, to do what you want to do with that. The Campos one obviously moved yesterday or whatever. I don't know if it's guaranteed he's going to start because he lost the job at Amor Bieta. And I know that because I had him as my Road to Glory goalkeeper. So, I'm not saying that will happen. I'm not saying he won't be number 1, but just, proceed with caution always. Standard Liège have a new under-23 keeper, Mpolo. He's taken over, from Bodart. He's 19, really, really young. He played the last couple of games last season, but his scores were terrible because they were nearly into liquidation and terrible themselves. There's an under-23 keeper in your league, Led, in the Danish league.
Why am I blanking on it?
He's never really played before for anyone, so that might be why. But Vincent Muller for Aalborg.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's one of the cheaper ones. I know we're not talking about cheaper ones here, but he is definitely a cheaper option. Gutlebauer, who plays for Pellets in the Austrian league, he's really cheap. Just trying to throw out a few names. Restes, or however you pronounce it, for Toulouse is probably. I mean, he's a champ keeper, so to be starting at 19 years old for Toulouse can't be a bad thing. Going to be at the Olympics and probably starting for France.
I think so, yeah.
His scores aren't great, but that's just product of playing for Toulouse, really, if we're being completely honest. Or last season anyway. They might be better. Who knows? He definitely, he's in the conversation.
Yeah.
Diech is back. Sam Tighe's goalkeeper.
There was no way I thought we were talking about him, even saying his name. So. Oh, Charlie said Tangvik had the clean sheet against Man United, so he's back.
So back. Lamens for Antwerp. Butez leaves. There's definitely Heidel is one I actually really like that we haven't mentioned, and it's been around, the block for a while. That was in your
video.
He was in the video. Yeah, he's one of the ones that I think is still decent bang for buck. I think because Rapid are a good team, and I think they have European spots to contest for maybe as well over the next few weeks. I don't know whether there'll be coverage, but he's a fun one, like proven on a dominant enough side in their league to where it probably favors him.
Zhao has mentioned Jesper Schendelar.
He's really good.
16 times. I think you mentioned him as well.
Yeah, like some big peaks, which is going to happen when you're conceding goals and conceding shots at Peck's wall. Yeah, we've mentioned Ernst, or however you pronounce it, KB. Well, we haven't put him on the list, but yeah.
I'm agreeing with Agent Cooper here. That Austrian winter is just way too long.
It is. It's brutal. It is brutal. That's part of it. I think I mentioned that in the video that I made with the under-23 goalkeepers. Is like that one's sticky. Really, really is. Unless you're going to go all Austria,
right,
and just match it all up and have Salzburg outfielder stacks and maybe a Rapid Vienna defensive stack or whatever. There's definitely merit in doing that.
I'm looking at this first 6 games for Schendelar, like away to Utrecht, away to Twente, and then home against Feyenoord and AZ. Whew.
But like you in a weird way, that's where the peaks could come from.
Yeah.
For goalies like that, like we're so used to being like, that's not a good matchup, which is not. But ultimately for keepers, they actually can, like the variance is like he either scores 9 or he could score like 85, 90.
Yep.
And sometimes, and I think, like you alluded to earlier, under 23, I think everywhere next season are going to have stupid scores everywhere, probably most weekends. You're going to need the peaks to come in at the right time, and you're going to have to take risks on some matchups where it doesn't look good on paper, but in actuality, it could actually be like insanely good if you get that like 1-2% outcome that does happen.
We have Suzuki here. I just went to the player rankings for U23 goalies and sorted by AA for L15. Zion Suzuki, who is now a champion goalkeeper. That's one of those that like you look at that and the situations are just so different that it's tough to be like, oh yeah, those scores can carry over, because you just like goalies get points from like making saves. Maybe if some of them are a little more aggressive or they're really good with their feet and so they're part of the buildup. But they start, but like ultimately they score by making saves. And that has more to do with the defense in front of them than how good they are themselves.
The only thing I've got going for Suzuki there, or what's got going for him, is naturally Serie A is a lower scoring league.
Yep.
They just are quite defensive compared to Belgium. In a weird way, if there's any champ move you want him to get, it's probably Italy on paper, right? Like if we're going, historically, from how that league just plays out. I'm not saying Parma won't concede goals because they're not like the best team in that league. Obviously, it's more your Inters and the bigger teams that keep all the clean sheets. But it's still, the point still stands. I probably wouldn't mind that if there was a champ move for a goalkeeper of mine. You probably take that.
I'm going to just end on this. I'll end the goalies on this from Toby. He said, Magun Goita could be really good, but they just signed another keeper. So who knows if he starts or not? That's what we're trying to avoid here.
Yeah.
Like,
as best as we
those
can.
are the players we don't really want to discuss now.
Exactly that.
I'm sure there will be a video on Harry's channel one day with all of the questionable U23 goalies you guys can go out and buy.
Oh, for sure. There's plenty.
I didn't mean to close that one. Let's go to defenders here. When somebody asks you who the best U23 defender is, what do you say?
I couldn't tell you. There's not an answer, I don't think. It's going to be what Monkey maybe said earlier, is that this one might surprise us more so than the other positions potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Look, there's still a few under 23, goats in there that have been really good over the past few years and are still aged in. We just lost Schlotterbeck, for example, which you could have put down as probably the best. Just sort of spouting names out, but look, Disciple could be insane again. Why couldn't he? He's definitely in the conversation. Calafiori, I mean, if he moves to Arsenal, that could be insane, right? Like, again, it's all the ifs and buts. Less so with Maxim, of course. Gvardiol, he went on a massive purple patch for me.
He
playing like
he was
left
the
back.
one that, like, when I had to choose one, I was like, I'll go with Josko.
Was the best.
Yeah.
Really?
But it was just it was a total, like, nobody's the best. And so, like, maybe he's in the conversation. Like, he was absolutely making the list for me, but I think the list
he has to
could be alphabetical and be accurate or not, like, who knows?
I just think like that really nice patch here, like that 80 to like 79, where it was just dark green. He was just getting decisives. And I'm not saying like Man City won't like be sharing out decisives again next season, but it just felt like he was getting too many, like scoring 2 goals away to Fulham. Like, it's just things that I just can't. Goal and an assist against Luton. I know City are going to probably score 5 again against whoever gets promoted this season, but I don't know. I think there was a lot of scores there. There's still some great AA in there. Don't get me wrong. Like, he is still capable of that on the team he's at. If I had to bet, I don't think he's top 3 next season. That's not hating on him, but I don't think he's like the best of the best type of thing.
Vita, after Peter said we should never speak down about him, Vita said that he has one, which, Vita, I believe you won in a box. I think I remember that correctly. And he said, there's no way I play Gvardiol in U23 next season unless he's playing against Liverpool away, which I assume means he's good enough for Prem or Champ. Yeah,
he's one of the ones where I'd probably foresee him playing more in the Champ side of things, which obviously shows he's great. And I'm not saying he's not great, but I don't know. I just think he went through a real purple patch because for a long time, he wasn't very good for City, if we're being completely honest. If we're talking scores, like, he really, really wasn't. But it's really tough, man. He wasn't, and he wasn't like always playing in that position. And I don't know. Like, there was always, like, you could always see there was potential, but there's a clear difference between those last 10 games and the 15, 20 games before that. Like,
yeah, you're not wrong.
It's very, very apparent there. I'm not saying that he can't score well, but you know what I mean.
Also, still has 2 more years of utility.
That one's a big one.
Yeah. One player has 3 more. Wrench from Ajax.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen peak. I've seen like Wrench be amazing for 15 games. He gets injured, he comes back, he's mediocre. Like, we've been through a lot with Wrench. I think it's just been on the platform. Like, he's been around for absolutely ages. Is capable of those massive peaks that right backs and left backs can get because they have that capability of getting the assists and whatever. Yeah, I mean, he was way better back in the day. As you can see, there was hundreds popping out from everywhere. That was when Ajax were in their like elite form, right? The Timber under 23 was just the best card on the platform by a mile, or at least under 23 wise. Wrench was in that conversation, but like just way more variation in his score because he was a right back. And yeah, if Ajax are great, Wrench is probably going to be quite good. Hato has to come into that conversation then for me because Hato's like a centre back, left-footed, very similar to Timber. Even younger again, which is nuts. He's like the next one to blow if we're talking like go into another team. And yeah, he's the one for me. Exactly what Lord Echo says there. He has a similar profile to Timber, and if they do have loads of passes and whatever, he could be absolutely insane. Hato might play as a left back, fair enough. Yeah, I can see that happening, like an inside left back, and similar actually to a Guardiola role for City. But yeah, he's great. Mm-hmm. He has to be in the conversation if we're talking Ajax in general. Gertruda, what happens to Gertruda?
Isn't he? Oh no,
he's still at Feyenoord, but like, go on.
Was he linked to Southampton and then Sugawara ended up going?
Oh, I don't know. I thought he was more Leipzig, but it might have been. I might have missed that one. I can't remember who else Southampton were linked to. Obviously, yeah, Sugawara is gone, but who else did they actually end up getting? I really don't know. But Calafiori, like, he could be the GOAT if he goes to Arsenal and plays.
You can make the argument that he could be the best if he stays. I don't think he's staying.
Maybe.
But like,
Motta left though, didn't he? Didn't Motta leave Bologna?
oh, you're
Or
right.
was he- Not saying that doesn't, whatever. But
To
they were
Juve?
like, I think he went to Juve. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he went to Juve.
Right? Yeah. I'm
Yeah, I
gonna
don't know.
trying
Go
to
on.
catch up on the chat here. Mandy said, "Please speak about Foremost Mendy." I just looking at my rare I bought for €7 and my limited for 60 pence.
I mean, this is one of those where if he goes back to his League Deux form, which was not last year, the year before, I believe, then he could be in the conversation for sure. And that's not me being biased as somebody that's just bought one, but that's just looking at where
Feels
he
pretty
kind of is
biased,
at.
Harry.
It is. I'm also backing my good friend Matty, so I'm fighting his corner for him. Could be huge, could be really, really big. But again, it's going back to the unknown. Like Lorient should be really good in that league. Now, we could have said that about Saint Etienne. Well, maybe we couldn't because they were rubbish at the start and they got really good. That league's a weird one. Doesn't necessarily mean because you get relegated from the Ligue 1, you're going to be good in Ligue 2. But he's been there before. If he doesn't move and he stays at Lorient, I can't see how he isn't a very good under 23 defender. Definitely,
I'll put
in
him
the
on the list
conversation.
just for the
I think
vibes.
that could be
I
again
like this
really
call from
fun.
Jack. Yeah, Zeno
Yeah, it's a great call. If he plays though, there's like 5 good centre backs there. So if they get rid of a couple, fair enough. But
I would argue there are 3 good ones, and there are 5 there, and 3 of them are good.
I mean, who is it? They've got a few good youngsters outside of the best.
Yeah, I think
Quaresma, Ignacio,
Diomande, who I think is gone.
Diomande, is he? Yeah.
Yeah. St. Just is he's fine.
Yeah, he's like the quickest defender in the world, by the way. I don't know if you know that.
It's like a wasted center back.
Yeah, he's always injured, but the best could be great. Could be insane.
I'm going to put him on the list.
Passing type, if they dominate possession, which they probably do in most games, he could just eat AA and clean sheet on top. He's got a wicked passing range, so there's always that element of an assist or somewhere for him.
So how about this, Harry? Having watched him in real life, I think DeBast is really good.
He is. I haven't been lucky enough to watch him in real life, but he is a very, very good player. You don't pay £16 million for a 20-year-old defender from the Belgian league for no reason. And Sporting have a good sort of track record of sort of selling on again, and we just saw it with if Gyökeres ends up leaving or whatever.
Right, like Sporting don't always pay that much money. Like Prem teams will pay that much money all the time.
Of course, yeah. They know they can 3-4x this if it goes well. That's what you do with defenders, like at best. So his ceiling is probably 80 million if he has a really good year or two. Who knows? United comes and buys him and boom. Van de Ven, I rate him. I think he's unbelievable. Probably one of the fastest defenders in the Prem by a mile.
So he's another one. Like, do you ever play him in U23 over the Prem or in Champions?
Well, it depends if you have a Vicario. Like, it just so depends on your gallery, right? Like, if you just have a standalone Mickey Van de Ven and you don't have any other Prem stuff to go with him for that given game week for whatever reason, then obviously you stick him in under 23s, I guess. But yeah, he's an interesting one. He's like, he doesn't actually score that well, does he?
I was going to say
historicals.
Yeah, Romero
definitely
has higher scores.
100%. But Romero just eats tackles. He's just so aggressive. He wins every duel. Not saying Van de Ven loses them, but he's just a bit less aggressive in some ways. There's some really good scores there. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Spurs like to concede goals though. That is just part of Ange's give and take of how they play football. It's very expansive and whatever. Lucky enough to actually watch Van de Ven last season. He went off injured, unfortunately, against Chelsea. But yeah, no, great player. I think who else? I think it was Nanto as well. Said Saliba. I think Saliba's the best player in real life if we're talking under 23s. But for whatever reason, it does not translate onto SO5, and I'd love to know why. It's weird.
As someone who has seen Saliba play in real life, let's go. He is one that is. You're right. It's unclear why the Matrix doesn't reward what he does, because he's so good and impactful in a game. And yet you look at his score and you're like, 46?
So I'll tell you why my theory is, right? Most strikers won't go up against him. They'll go to Gabriel Mangales and they'll have the duel with him. Nobody runs past Saliba. Like, you just can't get around him. So what's the point going over to him, if that makes sense?
Right.
As a forward, you're just going to avoid him if possible. And I just think he just doesn't seem to just eat as much as a Gabriel would, because he's just less, he's not less impactful, he's just less busy, which then doesn't get rewarded on the Matrix. That's like, unfortunately, he's a product, like he's a, I don't know what the word is, but he's just like, it's his own fault that he doesn't score well because he's too good of a player. People don't want to actually come up against him 1v1. And I'm not saying he won't do the passing, because we know he does the passing stuff. That's a different side of the game. But as far as the tackles, which are just massive for having the double doubles, triple triples and whatever, you're going to need those as well as the passing stats and the clean sheet to get to these 80, 90, 100s. As a centre-back anyway, because it's very less likely that you're going to get the assist or goal unless it's from a corner or whatever.
Yeah, Jack was saying that he's not the dual-winning centre-back,
right, exactly,
because he's not even in them. It's not like he loses them. He's just not in them.
No, he just doesn't have them. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. Gabriel's more aggressive, similar to Romero maybe, and the Van de Ven situation. Yeah, I definitely think that there's merit in that. Somebody's had a good shout earlier. Yeah, Nando as well. Kabassi for Barca. That could be really fun. Obviously, Cham bias maybe, but one of the younger ones we're going to mention on the list by a country mile at 17. It's just wild, right? It's one of them where like his floor is going to be so like high in that sense as far as scores go, because Barca are going to try and dominate possession most of the time. And yeah, I'm not saying he's going to be scoring hundreds every week, but there's definitely merit in having him in the conversation.
I'm trying to catch up on the chat, and I got so thrown off because somebody mentioned Malo Gusto, and it, I don't know how you buy anybody, at least defensively, from Chelsea and think that like, that they're going to play.
Well, their captain is his competitor, Reece James. Like, he's captain of the club, no? Or is it Gallagher? I don't know, but it's one. I
don't even know.
I'm pretty sure it's Reece James. So it's like, do you want to get involved in that sort of situation? I don't think I want it, to be honest. Eric Garcia, going back to Barcelona. He was great at Girona. They play a different style of football to Barca, so that might have complemented him in some ways. I had a Garcia Super Red back in the day. I could always see there was something in there because of the passing stuff, but it didn't really translate for Barca too much. He obviously had a lot of competition, but Garcia had a wicked season last year for Girona. So does Hansi Flick? I know Araujo's out for 2 months. They've still got competition. Sure. Christensen, he'll definitely, if he plays, he could be a smash for sure.
Speaking of Chelsea defenders, here's one that is no longer one. Ian Maatsen at Villa.
Yeah.
Could be fun.
I think
he might be one of those that just continually is like really good in real life. And maybe his scores are just all over the place because it's like on the bad days,
it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think there's one, I haven't really had confirmation yet if we think he's going to be number one or not as far as defenders go, or even number two. But Ryan Flamingo has signed for PSV. And he was a smash at Utrecht last season. So, okay, he might be a bit busier there than he would be at PSV if we're talking, duels and whatever. But he was insane. For like a very, not insane, but, very average team on a very good team. That could be quite like 11 duels won. Absolute beast. Could we, no disrespect, but Romalho is shocking. He's gone.
Yeah.
Obviously, Pasagli's the guy, and if he stays, whatever. But if this Flamengo guy could, gets the start, Jesus, this could be frightening. It could be really, really cool.
Yeah.
From a scoring perspective, it's weird. Defenders are weird. Frances was really good last year. His scores were insane for Zaragoza.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Tobe's a big fan of just La Liga 2 cards in general and goalkeepers. Defensively, it is just good on the matrix. For whatever reason, less goals scored and lots of clean sheets. It just obviously is going to favor defenders and goalies. And as you can see, there's just a very consistent sort of streak of scores there. Hardly any sort of downs. Do we get like Diomande cards if he goes like Sport, if he doesn't leave Sporting? No.
He has cards.
Right, like 3.
Like 3 of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Midtjylland cards, no less.
Right. Nuno Mendes for PSG is always good for a good score. This is the thing, like with defense. No, he is. He's able to get a peak. I'm not saying he's consistent. I wouldn't like go out and buy him.
Just to cut you off quickly there, I just wanted to point out that the other tie in the building is talking up Aston Villa.
Sam's paid him off. There's no way.
Surely. It's Sam's. Gavin has to be his middle name, and he just has 2 accounts, and that's it. Anyway,
Pavlovic,
I'm not saying it's not there. I just get
like he is good.
But it's kind of the same as like Hakimi. They can have great games,
right? Hakimi was better than that, mind. But yeah,
you're right.
Hakimi was insane for a while. I don't know. It's tough because like I play this card if they were like massive favorites at home to whoever, and it's like if they're going to win 4-0, you just got to hope the left back whips in a ball and Barcola gets on the end of it or whatever, right? Like that's how that one works. It's different to a centre back and how you would play that one. Yeah. Wilfred Singo for Monaco. Been found there. Singo was great last season. He had an under-23 goalkeeper to go with him, Majewski, but he's gone. I've got one that Quinn will like. Oh, joke. Yeah. He's fine. John Pacheco. This is one that basically is going to replace Lenormand, or however you pronounce him. Should be at the Olympics with Spain. There's not much to go off apart from the last little cameo at the end of the season, but he's really highly rated. I know Quinny's a big fan and almost got myself a super rare, but I just missed out on it. I was I'm in an R in, and then the guy ended up not wanting to sell it and whatever. So Jared Branthwaite, I don't know whether he comes into the conversation, but he is capable of a good score, albeit in the Premier League. If he moves to United, is that a good thing?
I was going to say, do you think it's a good thing?
I mean, it can only be a good thing, can't it, over Everton? No disrespect, but like, he's definitely got merit. He's one of the better centre backs. I tell you, there's one. Is it Smets that's just gone to Genk from? Was it Saint Trudenese or one of the other two? So he has midfield and defender cards. He's listed as a defender, so we're hoping new cards are defender. That's for like a not great team. I mean, it's an okay team.
Yeah.
Genk are obviously a little bit better. There's definitely merit in saying that he could be great, but again, we're in that he could be. We haven't mentioned Ignacio. Well, I mentioned him, but not for the list. What happens to Ignacio? If he stays, he's huge again, surely to God.
I was going to say, if he stays,
he's the
Isn't
boss,
Diamande
right?
also still U23?
Yeah, that's why I said it, because I've got a list up here and he came up. He's 20. Like, he looks about 55.
Yeah, he does.
Tough paper round, but Sergio,
they might have a U23 goalie, unminted.
Really? Is it that Israel? Is it Israel or something?
Yeah, Franco. Although I think they got somebody else.
Oh, okay. Struikers is a midfielder or a forward, actually.
Excuse me.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned Antonio Silva, which has to be in the conversation if we're talking staying and being at Benfica. There's definitely has to be mentioned. I think we're at probably the end of it, I would say, if we're talking defenders. I mean,
agreed.
Decipher's got to be up, like we mentioned him, but like if I'm sort of coming back around, Decipher for me, Decipher, Silva, Ignacio, those are that's kind of the realm I'm in if we're talking like top 3. And then you got like your Guardiols, maybe Mendy's. If like there's gonna be some that surprises, put it that way.
Yeah, surely.
100%.
Victor's giving us a hard time because we haven't mentioned Cole Palmer while ignoring that we've only done goalkeepers and defenders.
Come on.
So we'll do some midfielders.
Yeah, we will. Let's do it.
Can you make a case for me that there is someone better than Jude?
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say yes, not because there's better, more than like he won't be as good as last season.
Okay.
if that makes sense.
I'll take it.
It's just more like I just don't think he'll be as clutch as he kind of was last year. I'm not saying he won't be good. I'm not like tinted by what's just happened with England and him not be. I mean, I know he scored the overhead kick or whatever, but it's not a short-sighted thing. I just think he just came in clutch far too many times last season to where, like, again, similar to the Guardiola situation. I know Jude's a completely different player, different position, and scored way more goals and was way more clutch and whatever. I just can't see how he sustains that personally with Mbappe there.
That's fine.
I just think there's going to be way more decisives being shared around. So for that reason, I don't think he'll be number one. Now, if Matt O'Reilly stays at Celtic, that could be a number one.
Is he really going to stay?
Probably not.
Yeah. Like, I almost don't even want to put him on the list, even though I just said, like, it's as of today.
Right, yeah. No, I wouldn't put him on there for that reason, because it is very likely he moves. %1,000,000. I mean, I'm a bit biased with this one, but Oscar Gluch was ridiculous. He has one of the best L15s of under 23 mids. Again, there's worries that he might move because he's gone to the Olympics and Salzburg didn't really want him to go. And similar to like he wasn't good for the first half of the season. Second half, he was insane. Yeah. But there's other players in that team, like Karsgaard could be really good. He's on 11th there. He was injured for a while. He'll take sets, and probably stay. So he's probably your best bet if you're talking safety. Salvador Esposito, is he on? Yeah, he's 4th on the list. He was absolutely crazy. He was part of that Daniela Verdi side led last season at Spezia, and he was actually ridiculous. Yeah, like he was stupid. He only has a couple of cards though, and he's not going to get any more, I don't think.
8 rares.
Yeah. So that one's a tough one because he is literally in the conversation to be insane again, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure on there. Let's see here.
I mean, Musiala, Vert, right? They have to be in the conversation.
I was gonna include them on the forwards only because cheat codes, but
exactly.
Who? Yeah.
Elise.
I was gonna say Elise at Bayern
has to be in the conversation. Xavi Simons, again, unknown situation, but you'd like to think he'll be relatively good, kind of wherever. Arda Güler. Imagine if Arda Güler goes on loan to like somewhere decent.
Is that really going to happen?
There was rumors of it. There was definitely. I mean, like, depends. Right? I don't know what he's not going to start for Real Madrid next season. I'm sorry. Right. Like, you're not going to take over the Cruz role. Like, he's not Cruz. Different players. I'm not saying he couldn't be as effective as him in certain ways, but different players. So I think there's merit in him having a season-long loan somewhere and just absolutely going nuclear.
The upside is like unquestionable.
It really is, yeah. And he's the type, like we always look, we met you and Sean and everyone kind of mentions it. Like you are always looking for those set piece takers that, if they're under 23 and taking set pieces and you're playing them in under 23, like, you've got a big advantage on other mids that aren't taking set pieces at the end of the day. That's just how this game is just favored. So I think he has to be in the conversation if he moves, but it's one of those ifs, which we don't really want.
A bunch of people are talking about Baturina.
Baturina, if he stays, yeah, fair. But he went really cold last season. I owned one for a while.
Really cold.
He went really, really cold, and I sold him, and then he went a little bit warm for like 6 games. He was insane, wasn't he? That last season, the season before that, where there was like 300, 200s, 99. He was like dark green most games. With like a 20 AA floor as well if he didn't get one. So look, yeah, why not? I'm a big fan of the Riker boys. Tony Fruk, who's just signed or got the number 10 jersey at Riker. We kind of know he's not going to leave. He had a really good season last season. Set piece taker, pens as well a lot of the time.
I mean, talking about the guys that we've already talked about, is Tony Fruk really in this conversation?
Look at the scores. Like, the dark green scores. It doesn't matter who gets them.
I'm only doing this because you're the one on the show here.
Trust me. Yuito Suzuki, has he got to be in the conversation? I mean, there wasn't many hotter players for a period than him.
Yeah.
For 15 games.
Yeah, well, let me take these. I should probably have one of these.
Not enough peaks. You probably want him to be a forward card, really. I really like Lee Kang-in. personally. I don't own one. I'm not pumping him in any way that I'm benefiting from this. I love Lee Kang-in. I think he suits them. Well, he does just suit the Matrix, set piece taker. If he plays, it's just one of them where, like, what happens with PSG's midfield and rotations could really hurt him, as they probably did a lot of the time last season. But if he's on the field, he is very, very, very capable.
How about
go on,
Yari?
Don't do this to me. Don't tease me, Led. He's fit. I will tell you he's fit now. He played last friendly. That's all I know. He didn't get any decisives. But
Harry and I have been Yari stands for years, and we finally got to our last breath with Yari. And
it's last straw, isn't it, for him? I mean, Kudus, I know Scosmo mentioned him earlier. He was great last season. I don't see a reason why he wouldn't be good again. He's obviously looking for that, like, really big move, which is could get now, really, I think, if he wanted to. But another really good season. Like, those scores are insane for Premier League under 23. They're insane. I really like him.
He definitely should have been on the list. Right.
There's always going to be cheaper options that, probably don't need to be mentioned. Quinton Timber could be really good again. Not saying he's that cheap, but there is rumors that he might leave, though, is an issue with him. Had a really good season last year. If he stays, it looks like he's going to be captain from what I'm seeing.
Wow.
He captained the side last game. He went off injured, actually. Shock. So, yeah, he's one where you just don't know how that's going to play out. Yeah.
Agent Cooper said Yari, along with Ansu Fati, are the ultimate injury-prone hype boys. Yari plays so much more than
Fati, 100%.
Ansu Fati.
100%. I'm just looking down the list here. I mean, it's tough. Like, I know I bang on about him, and this fits the injury hype boy list, but Pedri, I mean, he's injured all the time, which is an issue, but, he's definitely one of the better under 23 players in world football, hence why he's at Barcelona, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to score as well as whoever else on this game.
Tom Neves. Did I put him on the list?
No, we haven't yet, actually. So PSG are really, really in for him right now.
Are they?
Yeah, big time. I don't know whether it'll go through or whatever, but again, if he stays, great. Even if he doesn't stay, I still think he'd be good at PSG. Szoboszlai, could he have a sort of comeback season under Slot? I mean, there's merit in that. We haven't mentioned Saka yet, which is a big mistake from our part.
So I think it's a mistake, but I also think it's not, because I like playing him in U23 just feels wild.
It does feel a bit strange, yeah. Unless you've got Rodri and Fernandes in your Premier League team. I guess. Unless you've got, what I'm saying? Like, you would then probably, but yeah, still, it's a stretch, isn't it? Because he is that good.
Yeah,
I know it's tough to say, but what about our boy Naipan? Come on, he's got to be on the list.
Camavinga.
Camavinga. I mean, yeah, does he nail down a starting spot every game? There's definitely way more reason to do so now than before with no Cruz. Yeah, we added. Sorry, what did Blue Tomato saying there? You added Versa Musiala. I think we added both, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Kobe Mino, I wouldn't say he doesn't suit the Matrix, Agent Cooper, if I'm being honest. Like, in the Euros, he's had like 20, 30 AA games after like 60 minutes. No, 30, 20. I'd say could be quite fun. He's got a peak in him. Yeah. What about Adam Wharton? His scores were even better than that in the Prem on a worse team.
Right.
I think he's great. Well, we know he's great, but again, full season, that could be really fun. There's getting a bit dicey at this point, I would say.
Yeah, Caicedo's really good.
Caicedo, coach you. I know you've got a vendetta against him, but very personal.
Is he staying? I guess nobody wants.
I can't. No one would buy him. Yeah, I don't think so. Anyway,
can you make a full U23 lineup from Benfica? As we're saying, like, you can't stack.
Yeah, Silva,
like Trubin, Silva,
if João Neves stays.
Kirchu.
They do have a striker, Thiago Goreva, but I don't know if he's going to start.
Yeah,
but he's
because
really good. The guy,
I think. Oh,
yeah,
is Rollheiser
that
still? Oh, he just aged out.
no, that guy on the bench though, Goreva, he's really good. I just don't know if they're going to give him a starting role. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but he's like really, really good. He's like a winger, not a 10, but
Oh, I was going to
not a
say he
9,
looks
sorry.
like a 9. Like he's just going to get up
Yeah,
there and blast
he's
away.
quick. I don't think he's that tall. He looks really tall there, doesn't he? Like
He
long
does.
neck,
It's a
and
really big
I
neck.
don't think. Yeah, I don't think he's actually that. I could be wrong, but I don't think he's right. That's a really good shout, João Gomez. Rocco Ritz. Have you seen? Not if you've seen, but he was really interesting last season for Gladbach. He just recently trained with Germany before the Euros and stuff, so they were like sort of bedding him into that sort of project. Capable of like massive scores. He doesn't really get like crazy amounts of decisive going off last season, but can get really good AA, tackles well, and interceptions and whatever. He's definitely worth a mention. 1,000,000%. There's always going to be some fun ones that surprise us as well, which is
for sure.
part.
For sure.
What about Schroeder? But he's gone back to Benfica, hasn't he? I'm not saying he's going to definitely start, but I think he's gone. I'm pretty sure his loan's finished.
Yeah, that's the whole who knows if he starts.
We're into the ifs, ands, or buts now, which is fine.
Is Applecamp still? Oh, he is U23.
Yeah, he is. Another fun one. Like, it's easy.
That was
just
one
to
of
point
those
out
that you were
all the
like,
champ
please do not get promoted.
I know. And don't leave. The other guy left, though, Tizolis, the striker that was taking sets. He's gone to Club Bruges. So we'll mention him in the forward ones because he could be like nuclear at Club Bruges.
Okay.
Yeah, he could be really fun. I think it could be forward time there, to be honest. I'm looking down.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's get there because we're running out of time here.
It's all good. Yeah.
Who was it? What's his name?
I've literally blanked now. Who's he playing for? Sorry, I've literally
Bruges.
just gone blank. Oh,
or he just went to Bruges.
Tizolis is Greek. I don't know how to. Yeah, there he is. Christos Ziolis or whatever.
Yeah.
Jeez. So he was taking set pieces last year.
No way he takes them Bruges though, right?
Well, probably not, right? But he's like an inside left forward. He was at Norwich, which is weird, but didn't really pop there. Yeah, I mean he's not where you start, but we've started because of the thing. But yeah, Malik Tillman's a fun one. Doesn't he have forward cards and mid? Pretty sure he has both.
Yep.
Yeah. He could be really fun. Really, really fun. So forwards are probably not as hard as they kind of once were, because like last season a lot aged out, and now we're at the stage where like the new younger ones are really coming through.
Is it like if you could have anyone, you take Yamal?
Yeah, not even a question. I wouldn't even bat an eyelid.
So like just we are going to have a conversation, but Harry and I are full-fledged. It's Yamal and everyone else.
I'd argue. I'm arguing he could be the best forward on the platform. I said that to you weeks ago before he did that goal and whatever. I said things are looking really interesting for him right now because of the set piece taking and like the amount of like responsibility that boy's having because he's so capable. Like he's just a freak. He is just an absolute freak of nature for that age, and you just got to let him go and just let him fly because that's what both Barcelona and Spain are doing.
Yeah, we did skip Cole Palmer, by the way.
Right, yeah, that was a tough one because he is listed as a forward right now on Sorare because of the Euros.
Make everybody happy.
But he definitely makes the mid. Yeah, he definitely makes the mid conversation. So yeah, it's Yamal, obviously.
Yeah. Where do you find Gordon? Like if Gordon didn't play in the Prem, I mean, obviously you'd expect his scores to be even better, but like how much boost in like that people think he's good because he plays in the Prem? If that makes sense. Like we talk about how there are not that many great Prem forwards. And so he makes like the top 3 or 5 list. Right. But like we're not just comparing him to Son now.
To Prem. Right. Yeah. I think he's really good. I do. I'm not going to downplay Gordon. I think he's really good. He's unlucky that Isak takes penalties because Gordon is a very good penalty taker as well. So like situations like that, like if Isak leaves or whatever happens, there is that like he could go nuclear in that sense. Not that he didn't really last year because he did have some massive games, but like if he does ends up taking penalties and and all that sort of stuff, there is that element of him being ridiculously good.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure, I don't know if he takes all sets. I'm pretty sure he doesn't, but I know he does like a corner now and again from that one side. I'm pretty sure. So look, the scores speak for themselves. I know there's serious DAs in there, which you're going to expect, but like there's still AA to go with it, man. Like,
you know, what's hard to expect is 5 penalties.
That's ridiculous. I agree. Yeah, but he's so quick led. Like, that is him. He is the most direct player you're going to find on the left side in the Premier League, and those pens just will happen. I'm not saying that amount will happen in 3 games again, but he does just get a lot of them because that is his game. Is just committing defenders.
All right. He's on the list. No, I'm not arguing.
Yeah.
That he shouldn't be on the list.
He's on the list.
Casper keeps saying that Yamal is not as good as Musiala, which
don't even have that conversation with me.
I was going to say I was willing to like. So that's
debate.
it. That's all.
The iodine disrespect. He's moving to Fenerbahce. It looks like.
Wow.
Yeah. He's in for a move big time from what I'm seeing on Twitter. Tua Kavin, I mean, it's Russia and he'll be good. He'll score goals, but like he's a 9. Like
it's all he does.
Yeah. Like to be fair, his AA isn't terrible, but it's not like 15 to 20 AA like Yamal's going to get a lot of the time. You know, he's under 10
from getting like shots on target. Like it's not even just anything else, right?
Exactly. I rate him. I think he's good and whatever, but Peku, I think he's moved to Sevilla. That doesn't seem that fun, if I'm being honest.
RIP. Yeah.
Like it is just probably RIP. Kavicha, Bakayoko. Yeah, Kavicha's definitely in the convo. I'll definitely attest to that. Somerville. I seen a link earlier, Laird, actually. Where did I see that? Someone will have to correct me, but I saw a weird link to Somerville. Obviously elsewhere. I can't remember the club though, but it wasn't somewhere that I was like, oh wow, that's fun.
The next step is probably not as fun, like realistically.
Yeah, unless it's like Liverpool or something, which is not going to be. It doesn't look like.
But like, does he start there?
No, it wouldn't. No, I'm saying like if like Diaz left or Salah left and there was a space for him, fair, but there's not.
Yeah.
Conceição, I think definitely has to be in the conversation for like a winger forward card that gets loads of AA, takes set pieces. He could really, really pop, but there's loads of rumors linking him elsewhere. So, yeah.
What is Rami doing here as a forward?
Yeah, they've got him listed as... Well, I'm sure he has 4. I've seen forward cards, Led, no? Or am I just bugging out?
I think you're bugging out.
I've seen... Or maybe he just comes up on the filter.
Probably because, I don't think no forward cards.
Interesting.
He doesn't even play now anyway, so it doesn't even matter. Vinny and Haaland?
You can't. Well, I mean, they're different players for me. Like Vinny, yes. Haaland, I mean, we kind of just have to mention him by, like, he's just like
he's so replaceable for U23.
Yeah, you don't. But like, the goal is never to win a Haaland anymore. The goal is to win Yamal. Simple as. Like, the goal was obviously to want to win Mbappe. I think Dan Roth definitely is in the conversation there, just because I see him on the screen there, and I mentioned him in one of my videos. I don't own one, so I'm not pumping him.
Wasn't he supposed to go? He was supposed to go somewhere weird, like Russia or something.
Really?
But in January he was linked because I have what's that idiot's name? Mitchell Van Bergen.
Okay, yeah.
And when Rotz was supposed to leave, and Van Bergen was supposed to start, and Rotz never left, and
interesting.
There's just not much AA.
He went on. Yeah, he's pretty good. Callum Hudson-Odoi was really good at Forest.
I won him, so they made sure that he continued to. Does he stay there?
Yeah. He hasn't done enough to do anything. Yeah, he's on his comeback sort of era.
Gotcha. I'll give it to him. That's fine.
Yeah, he is a good player. He is a good player. Really direct.
Is Rodrigo dust now?
I would say dust. He can't, like, there's no way he's dust. But again, it comes back to the Jude thing. Like, there's gonna be lots of DAs going elsewhere, and it could necessarily mean there's more DAs, but in theory they get shared out more. And big this. I mean, I've seen links elsewhere for him. I wouldn't want him to move unless it's obviously a good move. But again, he's a number 9. Like, there's only so many things a number 9 can really do on the Matrix, I think. Doku, I mean, are we going to have this conversation, Led? Or would you prefer to have the debate with Sean? I don't think he's even a debate, is it?
Who would you rather have?
Go on. Don't even
Jeremy
say
Doku.
Go on.
Or Ryan.
You know the answer because I just bought one. You have the answer already in that brain of yours. You know it, Led.
Or I guess I should say, is the expectation that he goes to Dortmund and he gets to do what he does?
They're not going to spend I don't know what the price is, but let's just call it 20 to 40 mil. It's going to be something quite juicy, right? Because he's got whatever. I mean, he's only got a year left on his deal. Yeah. So I can't imagine it's that much, actually. Let's just call it 30 mil. I don't know what the price point is. There's no way Dortmund pay that and don't play him.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like, the goal is to turn him into a £100 million player. Because on paper, I'm not just being biased because I just bought one an hour ago. I've owned one before and I'll own one again. I'm sure another one. Like,
I have one too.
This is sad to admit, right, Laird? But I woke up on Christmas, Boxing Day is what we call it in the UK.
Yeah.
I woke up on Boxing Day to buy Ryan Cherky's IPO on Football Index when he was 16 years old. Like, the day he was just launched on the platform. That's how much of a Cherky sort of like fan I've been for years. And I've never been able to really justify owning him for a long period of time because back in the day, if I owned Cherky, I couldn't own Pedri. That was like how it was. Like, I had to choose one or the other. I'm, but price points now where you can own both. Like that's where we're at. That's where we're at in the game. Like, that's just how it is. And look, I'm obviously, a football romantic in that sense. I'd love to see him actually fulfill what I've seen since literally he was 16 in glimpses, but we've never seen it over a consistent basis. Will we ever see it? That's obviously a question that we'll never know until it happens, if it ever does. At Dortmund, if he plays, and if he gets keys to the sets and stuff, which is what his game is, like, really, outside of him being a great dribbler and whatever, he could go nuclear, and that's just being honest. Like, he could. Again, it's a big could, and I'd still prefer. Obviously, I'd prefer somebody more settled, like a Gordon or something. If you handed me both cards right now,
I think it's,
you know what I mean.
I think the thought on Cherky is, if he plays, he'll be great. That there's almost like no outcome where he becomes a regular starter somewhere and isn't great.
He needs to be on a dominant team that has the ball all the time in attacking thirds. Because as I mentioned to you yesterday, his downfall is he cannot track and he cannot run, basically.
Cannot he can't. Or does not.
Maybe does not. I'll be honest, I watched him in the French training videos and stuff, and he looks really lean right now. And he's somebody that has that, on football Twitter, they call it the fat gene. Reece James has an element of it where genetically it just doesn't really, what can you do?
Happens
right?
To the best of us.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm in the boat as well. Like, I'm not fat shaming in any way here, but I just think I'm looking at him right now and he is in ridiculous shape. Like, he's in I need to start every game shape type of thing.
Let's go.
He's looking really, really slim. And I think that can only be a good thing for a player like him, for how he needs to play modern football. Obviously, we know how fast it is and whatever. So, yeah, he's in the conversation if he gets that Dortmund move.
Yeah. Zhao kept talking about Osami Sarawi from Heerenveen.
Yeah, he's sharp. Good
Looks
player.
Good.
Drioech, who's just moved to PSV. Someone mentioned him earlier. Massive part of my road to glory. Again, does he play over a Lang? Noah Lang, that is. Right. I don't know. There's lots of competition in that PSV side, but he's great.
Casper's saying Mathis Tell slept on. Nobody's sleeping on him. They just want him to play, and he's just not going to play there.
I own one myself. It's one of them where he could go nuclear. Yeah, I'm not denying that. But when you're buying Elise's and you got Musiala's, there's so much competition.
Toby's calling me out for not mentioning Oral Simsir or Dario Osorio from Midtjylland, so I will mention them both right now. I will say, if you want an Osorio, it seems like you probably want one now instead of later. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. João Gomez mentions João Pedro, who's an interesting one. Obviously at Brighton, I think he definitely deserves a mention because he is somebody that can get really good AA for like a player that's not a winger, not a 9. He just can kind of just do whatever he likes. Again, yeah, there's fitness worries there with him. I'll agree with that. But yeah, wow, he's really exciting. Takes penalties as well. The good thing about Brighton right now is no Pascal Gross means what happens to set pieces? Who takes them over? Is it Enciso? Is it whoever? Like that's
we didn't mention him either.
No, but it's one of them, isn't it? It's like competition, right? Like Adringa, and there's just so many attacking players at Brighton that are young and hungry and whatever. It's just rotations could kill us. That's the problem. That's the downside of Sorare is like you've got to almost be like so brutal in the way you play the game, in that like you can't take risks at the end of the day in this game anymore. Maybe you can a bit more, Lid, actually, with the multi-entry. There's that element of like, oh, well, my third lineup's this and whatever. If João Pedro doesn't start or Enciso doesn't start. Ryan Felipe, wow, he looks good. I've not seen him before, if I'm being honest.
Here, I thought he was an actor.
There was a really fun kid who moved from Bundes 2. I think he's a mid though. Really fun, like Turkish lad. I can't remember his name. Can something?
Chanpalat, the goalie.
His name's Can Uzun. Uzun. Can. Yeah, you got him. Just moved to Frankfurt. Have a look at his scores last season. I know he was in Bundes 2, but for like 18-year-old.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Not
bad for an 18-year-old.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, there'll be some curveballs, which that's the fun part of it. Like that is why I love under 23. There's so many breakouts, and Saibari, just before we leave, Saibari needs a mention, Led. Forward cards as well. PSV. I really like Saibari. Doesn't play as a number 9, obviously. Plays in like cam, does a bit of everything, but he was last season. Some games like really nuclear. So
okay,
he's fun.
Love it. So yeah, Naipan. Beast. We'll see. So this is the watch list. Anybody, any Sorare Data member, star member, I believe, can find these on the watch list page. You can see the title there, top U23 players for 2024-25. There are probably a ton of them, which is why I put in the Lairdinho and Harry Trades in the title. It'll be in the description of this video. I dropped it in the chat, but I guess I can drop it in the live chat. I'll drop it in here one more time just so you guys can get it. So yeah, I think our attempt to have 5 players at each position, we finished with double, 49 players total. And again, if we do this list again in December, it could be very different. There could be players on the list that we throw off. There could be plenty that we never discussed and nobody mentioned in the chat, and they come back in. So yeah, that's the fun part about U23. And again, there are going to be divisions, so promotion and relegation, as well as multi-entry in U23 starting next month. So yeah, get on it there. Thank you to everybody for coming. If you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel, go over to Harry Trades' channel, subscribe and like all those videos as well. Harry, thank you for all of that knowledge. Thanks everyone for coming in and sharing theirs. And yeah, good luck in U23.